while back I read some research that says the typical amateur golfer gets 15 or so putts around that are in the range from, say, 4 to about 10 feet. And they make 3 of those. Wow. I started watching and checking it out, and you know, that's pretty typical of the rounds that I see when I play in the foursomes I play in. Wouldn't it be great if you could, instead of making 3 of those, make 7 or 8? You'd pick up 4 or 5 strokes around, maybe more. Well, today we're going to talk about how to do just that. So let's talk about why we miss these little short, they're not really super short, but they're relatively short putts. Why we miss them and what to do to fix that. First thing that I see is that the people who are really good putters focus a whole lot on the line, and people who are not as good or average putters don't. For instance, let's take this putt. The people who are really good putters are going to pick a line and they're going to set their putter head. Now, once their putter is set on that line, then they do their setup with their feet and get all in position and then make the stroke. Those are the people who are really good putters. The people who are average or mediocre putters, they come in and they're looking at their line and they get their feet all set, and then they put their putter down, and then maybe they're moving it and all that. You can't start the ball on the line if you're doing all that. It just doesn't work that way. So I want you to pick up a habit. This is a habit I've used for a long time. This putt, I think, breaks a tiny bit from right to left. So I want to go into the cup about here, which means I'm going to trace that back and stand behind it with binocular vision, looking at the line, and I want to start the putt right here. And I don't know if you can zoom in with the camera, but there's a little slightly different, like a little piece of Honu there, a really light little spot. That's my target for my line. That's directly in front of my ball, and I want to hit just the, literally just not the middle of this or the outside, that edge of it. Very small and fine on a target. So I've got my line, I've got my intermediate point on my line. I set the putter where I'm squared up at that intermediate point at that target. Then I set my feet, but notice my putter head hasn't moved. And I'm locked in, stroke the putt. Dead in the center. So first thing, make sure you focus on line. Now the second thing I see so many people doing, and this one here is about 10 feet. I see them doing this worse on the short ones, even down to 2 or 3 footers. But that is trying to steer the ball into the hole or that kind of thing. So the people who are really good putters are rock solid on their setup. I'm going to go through the routine again. Putter on the line. Now I'm ready to make the putt. My feet are set. Putter head doesn't move like we've already talked about. But now I want 0 movement. I'm not thinking about trying to hit it and steer it or any of that. And if you'll notice, the people who are really good putters, they get rock solid and nothing moves. No now raising up and doing this. No, I'm set. The only thing that moves is my head going towards the line and back, no body movement, and then it's stroke the putt. So with regards to this stillness, I know that a putting stroke is not a pendulum, that there's an art to it. I get that, but it is like a pendulum in the sense that if you think about a grandfather clock, the only thing that moves is the pendulum. And that ought to be part of your thought process when you're over these. Chosen my line, I'm set up. Now nothing moves except for the putter. And I don't have to think about, oh, do I rock my shoulders? Do I do it with my hands, whatever? I'm just set up and I think, okay, nothing moves, stroke the ball into the hole. And there's a level of stillness here. Our brains are really good at telling our bodies how to complete a task. That's how you're able to walk without thinking about it. If you start thinking about it over these putts, then you're thinking, oh, I've got to rock my shoulders, or oh, I've got to turn my chest. You do this and do that. You're doing all these things and your brain locks up and you're not focused on the task. The task is set up. Now, stillness and just stroke the ball into the hole. No other thoughts. That'll keep you from getting the yips, and it'll make you rock solid over these short putts. You watch the pros, that's what they do. The only thing that moves is the putter. And I don't think about how it moves. What do I use to motor that or power that? My brain is really good at telling my body what to do. So let's apply that same thing to these really short ones. I want you to understand clearly why you miss them and the point that I'm trying to make here. If you watch the people who are really good putters, there is no movement, none with their head, none of that. They set up and commit to the putt, and it is complete stillness. In fact, the old timers talk about putting with your ear. From this distance, which is 3.5 or 4 feet, I don't see the ball go into the hole. It's simply commit to the line, make the stroke. And I pulled that one a little bit, but it still went in because I was committed to being still, so my pull didn't over pull and cause it to miss. Let's talk about two last things related to that. The first one is how hard to hit. People always talk about how hard to hit these putts. If you're 10 feet or less, the rule of thumb for me is never be short. Hit it firm enough to get there. And your body kind of naturally knows that. Here's something that I think about a lot for speed and distance on these. What would I do if somebody said, oh, that's good, pick it up? Well, I'd still want to make the putt, but a lot of times, how hard would I hit it? It would be step up here and about that hard. Well, that's the thought process for how hard to hit these 4 to 10 foot putts. Yeah, hard enough to tap it in. One last thing on all of these putts of this kind of a distance. Don't change your routine. Go through, if you'll notice, especially the pros on TV, they've got a putt here. This is less than 2 feet. They don't walk up and do this, or they don't come up and do that, maybe on a 6-incher. But on one like this, they still make the line. If they use a line, and by the way, I talk about using an intermediate point. If you need to use a line on your ball, pick a line and commit to it. But if they use a line, they set their line, they look at this putt, they treat it seriously. They get their putter head set, they get their feet set, even on a really short one like this. And they pop it in the hole. So that's it. You want to make more of these putts that are 4 to 10 feet. Commit to a line, use the line on your ball or an intermediate target, and set up on that line. Putter head first, make sure you're square to that line, then set your feet, then be rock solid. Don't move. Still and stroke the ball into the hole. Don't try to push it or tap it or steer it. Stroke the ball into the hole. And then the same routine every time. You'll find that you're making a few more of these 4 to 10 footers, and that'll drop strokes off your score. And if you like dropping strokes off of your score and making more putts, then give this channel a subscribe and this video a thumbs up, and even share it with your buddy who really struggles with these short putts like this. Unless you're still used to taking his money. And here's to you making more putts.